All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful and honestly kind of sneaky forces that drives your customers' decisions every single day. We're going to unpack a cognitive bias called loss aversion. It's this hidden driver that, once you understand it, can totally change how you think about pricing, product launches, and even brand loyalty. So let's get right into it.
So, let me ask you a question you've probably run into. Why is it that when you see a $10 surcharge, say for using a credit card, it just feels awful, like you're being punished? But if you're offered a $10 discount for paying with cash, that feels like a nice little win. I mean, the final price is exactly the same, so what's going on? Why do they feel so incredibly different?
Okay, here's a perfect real-world example. An art gallery is selling a painting. In one scenario, it's 150 bucks. But hey, you get a $10 discount if you pay with cash. Cool. In the other scenario, the painting is $140, but there's a $10 surcharge if you use a credit card. The math works out to be identical, right? $140 either way. And yet, customers will go out of their way to avoid that surcharge. The reason has nothing to do with logic and everything to do with psychology. And the answer to this whole puzzle isn't found on a calculator. It's hardwired into our brains. It all comes down to a fundamental cognitive bias called loss aversion. So, what exactly is loss aversion? Well, put simply, the pain of losing something just hurts way more than the pleasure of gaining that exact same thing feels good. We are literally wired to avoid losses. That $10 surcharge, your brain frames that as a loss, and you instinctively want to avoid it. That $10 discount, that's just a gain you might miss out on. It just doesn't have the same emotional punch. Let's make this really personal for a second. Imagine I offer you a bet, just you and me. I'm gonna flip a coin. If it's tails, you have to hand me a $100 bill. Now my question is, what's the absolute minimum amount of money you'd have to win on heads to make you take that 50-50 bet? Seriously, think about it. Is winning $101 enough? 150? What's your number? If you're like most people, your answer was probably somewhere around $200. Now stop and think about how wild that is. To risk losing $100, you need the chance to win double that amount, just for the bet to feel fair in your gut. That extra $100 has nothing to do with math. It's a direct measure of how much your brain hates to lose. And that's really the key takeaway from the coin toss. It gives us a rule of thumb. Psychologically, emotionally, a loss feels about twice as bad as an equivalent gain feels good. And look, this isn't just a gut feeling, there's real science here. This graph basically maps our emotional response to gains and losses. That horizontal line is the money, plus or minus 100 bucks. The vertical line is how good or bad that makes you feel. And just look at that curve. It is so much steeper on the loss side. Losing $100 feels like falling off a cliff, while gaining 100 is more like walking up a gentle hill. Okay, so if we know for a fact that losses feel twice as bad as gains, what does that mean for your business? Well, it means the way you frame a choice, the words you use, can completely change the outcome, even if the numbers are exactly the same. This next study is an absolute classic, and it is mind-bending. Imagine you're told a disease will kill 600 people. One group is given a choice framed around gains. Program A will save 200 people for sure. Program B is a gamble. The other group gets a choice framed around losses. Program C means 400 people will die for sure. Program D is the same gamble. Now look really close here. Saving 200 people is the exact same outcome as 400 people dying. The options are mathematically identical. The only thing that changed was the wording. The results? Absolutely stunning. When it's framed as a gain, saving lives, people get conservative. 72% lock in the sure thing. They save the 200 people. But when the exact same choice is framed as a loss, people dying, everything flips. Now a whopping 78% become risk takers. They would rather gamble on Program D than accept the certainty of 400 deaths. Same facts, totally opposite decisions. That's the power of loss aversion. So let's bring this back to business strategy. Understanding this stuff shows why one of the most powerful things a brand can offer is simple, boring consistency. The game isn't always about maximizing what your customer can gain. It's often about minimizing their fear of what they could lose. I love this quote. It's just so true, isn't it? We totally take things for granted until we're faced with the idea that they might be taken away from us. That threat of losing something we're used to is an incredibly strong motivator. And there is no better business case study for this than the new Coke disaster. See, Coca-Cola thought they were offering a gain, a new and improved product. But that is not how customers saw it at all. They saw it as a loss. The company was taking away their Coke, and the pain of that potential loss was so much stronger than the appeal of a new flavor that people revolted, forcing Coke to bring back the original. And this brings us to McDonald's. Think about it. Is a Big Mac the best burger in the world? Probably not, but it's the most predictable burger in the world. You know that a Big Mac in Tokyo will taste exactly the same as one in Chicago, and that consistency is a brilliant business strategy. It helps you, the customer, avoid the potential loss of a bad, disappointing, or weird lunch experience. What all this leads to is a behavior we can call defensive decision-making. As customers, we're often more focused on avoiding a bad outcome than we are on finding the absolute best one. And that's why big, trusted brands like Apple or Marriott or Hilton do so well. They are a safe bet. We pick them not just for the great experience we might get, but for the bad experience we know we'll avoid. They've eliminated our risk of loss. Now, this deep-seated fear of losing things gives rise to another really fascinating psychological quirk. It's called the endowment effect. And it basically explains why we start to value things a lot more just because we happen to own them. You know, it's funny, Aristotle nailed this thousands of years ago. He knew that the very act of owning something changes how much you think it's worth. The second it becomes mine, its value just seems to magically increase in my mind. A famous experiment with coffee mugs and chocolate bars shows this perfectly. So one group of people just gets to choose, and it's about a 50-50 split. But then they give one group a mug and another group a chocolate bar. Suddenly, almost 90% of the people who got the mug refused to trade it for the chocolate, and 90% of the chocolate owners refused to trade for the mug. The moment it became their item, giving it up felt like a loss, and its value just shot through the roof. This, by the way, is the secret genius behind generous return policies. The no questions asked 30-day return policy removes the risk, so you go ahead and buy the thing. But the minute you take it home, everything changes. Your brain's reference point shifts. You now own it, and the thought of returning it is no longer about getting your money back, which is a gain. No, now it's about losing the thing you own. Loss aversion kicks into high gear, and you become way more likely to just keep it. So let's pull all this together. Loss aversion and the endowment effect aren't just quirky bits of psychology. They are predictable, powerful forces that shape how we all make decisions. And if you're in business, understanding how to frame choices, how to deliver consistency, and how to leverage the feeling of ownership is, without a doubt, a huge strategic advantage. So I want to leave you with one final question to think about for your own work. Where in your business are your customers afraid of a loss? Are they worried about losing money, or time, or status, or maybe just the comfort of familiarity? Once you can pinpoint that fear, you can start to think about how to reframe what you offer, not as a shiny new gain, but as a guaranteed way to prevent that painful loss. The ideas we've explored, drawn from works like Alexander Chernev's The Customer Science Handbook, suggest that answering that question, well, that could be a complete game changer.